Oh, what's up, Ada Gang? Welcome into Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. I'm your host here for Reed. Catalyst season is officially upon us. Today, we're diving into the Palm economy for a very brief update, but then a discussion around four proposals that they've launched to bring not only their platform to the masses, but Cardano as well. Now, today's guest has been here multiple times, needs no further introduction. Without any further ado, I've got Dan Friedman. How's it going, Dan? Doing okay?
It's going great. Yeah, it's a wonderful, finally sunny Saturday, and so yeah, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be able to discuss these four proposals. They're really amazing because this is literally we got this from things that we do at Zengate. This is not just something where we sit down and says, well, what can we do? Let's make it interesting. These are things that we're tackling at Zengate, and these are tools that we're building at Zengate. And so we just thought that the community could benefit from this, and this is why we submitted these proposals, and that's why we're looking for where we would like to ask for the community support.
Awesome, and thank you. Again, because you've been on the channel, I think we'll skip the general intro. We're actually going to shoot another bit of content here where I think we can dive a little bit into the lore and the background there. But I did see Theo, I believe he's also co-founder, right, in Africa
Yep.
not too long ago. And so we're going to jump straight into the first proposal here, which is to onboard over 50,000 Nigerian farmers using a compliance and traceability solution. Can you give us the rundown on exactly how that's going to work and why there's a need for this right now?
Absolutely. So one of the main product of countries like Nigeria is cocoa. And in fact, a lot of the cocoa that you see in your store comes from Nigeria. And so that's why it's very important for us to really um, just bring sustainability and bring viability to the way these things to the way this industry functions. One of the main issues is that there's quite a bit of under digitization happening in this industry. There's also quite a bit of, I guess, a lack of pathways to smooth transactions, to smooth logistics, to even internal data logging and internal data flows that are very important for any producer, especially somebody that does cocoa, to have, so that they can tell if this is built, if this product is grown in a sustainable way, if this product is grown in a sustainable way for them, because sustainability is also a big thing for the producer themselves, because the more sustainable it is for them, the more viable and the more value they can build from what they have. And so what we're basically going to be doing is we're going to be onboarding 50,000 cocoa farmers out of Nigeria using Palmyra Pro, which is our flagship product for B2B. And so what they're going to be doing is they're going to be utilizing Palmyra Pro for everything from farm to warehouse and then to the consumer. And so it will give the ability to, like I said, unlock value and unlock efficiency for these farmers, and to be able to comply with a very important legislation that is actually a big issue for many commodities producers that are shipping into the EU. The legislation I'm talking about is EUDR. So EUDR stands for the European Deforestation Regulation. And essentially, what it is it's a set of rules that the EU came up with for products, and there's a list of commodities. Cocoa is one of them. That if they want to import into the EU, they have to comply with these regulations. And if they don't, not only will they not be able to import into the EU, they will get banned from being able to do business in the EU, which is a big deal. I mean, it could ruin a business. It would ruin a business. One of the main key points of this legislation is mandatory traceability. And so this is one of the main things we're going to be providing for these Nigerian cocoa farmers is a way to track and trace their product and to be able to comply with EUDR to be able to access that market. Now, beyond that, sustainability in cocoa farming is actually a big thing right now. All the major companies are putting quite a bit of money into this. In fact, I believe Hershey's. I'm sure especially people in the U.S. know Hershey's very well. It's like the OG chocolate company of the U.S. They invested something like $500 million, maybe even more, into sustainable cocoa farming. And really, what that is it's not just about environmental compliance. It's not just about import compliance. It's not just about even EUDR compliance, which is, like I said, it is very important. It's really about a sustainable ecosystem that brings these particular commodities to you and to the products that you use. And so one of those being actually sustainable financial ecosystems for these farmers. Because countries like Nigeria, countries like Ghana, for example, they have a lot of this what is the word, disjointness in how the daily economy works, how payments work, how money is used. A lot of this is offline, and so what another big thing that this proposal will do, and this is very, very important, is we came up with a way, because Nigeria, just let me explain it a little bit more. Nigeria uses a lot of, just like I said, offline payments, not electronic payments, just cash, right? Cash at hand. And that creates a problem if you want to have digitized records. So what we're actually doing is we came up with a way to create a way to work with this kind of ecosystem, and then using the technology that we have, we'll actually be creating financial identities for these cocoa farmers, which is going to be huge for them, because that is going to unlock ways to financing and funding, is going to unlock ways to just much better financial discipline. Again, it's a big thing in the business. So mainly, like I said, the reason why this proposal is so important is, number one, is going to help these farmers be EUDR compliant and sustainable. Sustainability is a big thing. And two, the financial sustainability, the creating a way to bring offline payments online, and creating financial identities for them that are so important in that particular jurisdiction. I'm very excited about this. We've signed with Mongrow in the Cross River State. We also have other cocoa farmers that are ready to work with us. This is really, this is what Cardano is all about. I think it's all about going out there and bringing solutions to people that need them, to people that are excluded from opportunity. So this is really it really resonates with us, because we built Palmyra, and we built the Zengate, we built the Palm economy on these core beliefs. So very excited about this proposal.
That was a wonderful breakdown of that proposal. And I think the biggest thing that sticks out to me for that is the financial inclusion, right? When there's cash being passed under the table, it's very hard to legitimize your business and to be transparent, not just with whoever's purchasing, but also with your end customers. I think it's just as important for people not to just know where the cocoa is from, but then to also be able to understand, okay, from a financial perspective, how is, the farmer, how are these, growers, right, getting paid? Is it sufficient enough? And again, there's a lot of middlemen, not just in that industry, in crypto. Like, you just look at any
Absolutely.
industry, music industry, there's always a middleman. And I think that being able to do this in a way that's transparent removes an element of that and makes it a much more fair playing ground for everybody involved. So thank you for that, Dan. Now, you guys are known as one of the biggest RWA platforms here. I don't want to say just in Cardano because you guys have homes in other ecosystems as well. But you guys, actually, I think it was you in particular, had teased a documentary, right, about lithium and
Yeah.
bringing that on chain. So the second proposal we're going to dive into is literally around RWAs or real world assets in minerals. Could you maybe break down what minerals and what you guys are planning on doing there?
Right. Again, another one that I'm very, very excited about. So the one that you're talking about is our what we call the Cardano's first end-to-end mineral and metal RWA ecosystem. So essentially what we're doing here is we are again employing traceability and tokenization in cooperation with a partner in Argentina that has several dozen mines for different precious metals and minerals like gold, silver, and others that is going to be utilizing traceability and tokenization from start to finish to be able to capture all this value, right? And so when you capture all this value through tokenization and traceability, what happens is you create a way for these particular metals and for these particular items to be used in, say, for example, DeFi, because it's tokenized, right? You can borrow against them. You can, you can do all these wonderful things that DeFi can offer, and it just doesn't exist right now. This connection doesn't exist right now, right? And so what we're building, as it says, is an entire ecosystem. It's not just about traceability. It's not just about tokenizing it. It's not just about DeFi. It is combining all of it into an ecosystem that is basically creates this kind of circular economy that starts at the capture of the mineral or the precious metal itself, and then not only does it go through the whole traceability and value chain, it also because you start so early, because you start in the beginning, you automatically create value and ways for these items to be utilized in Web3. So there's nothing really like that right now that employs all of this, right? So employs traceability, tokenization, and then also interaction and incorporation into DeFi in a very fluid and smooth way. This is what this proposal is about. It's like I said, it's about the ecosystem. It's about unlocking value. And and this is not just we were talking about lithium, right? Well, we're obviously working with precious metals and minerals, but the same thing will be done for lithium, because this same partner does work with lithium as well. And our mission with lithium is definitely just beginning. And again, it's all about capturing value across the entire spectrum. And as I said in a video that I shot a little while ago, the selfie video that I did, the part that I concentrated at that point on is the fact that you can still have a craftsman or a craftsperson create something with the metal, and you can trust their skill in creating this, right? You can, somebody creates a beautiful ring for you, beautiful jewelry, or it doesn't have to just be jewelry. It can be something more an industrial application. It's maybe if it's Panasonic using gold in their electronics, right? So you obviously trust Panasonic's. You want to trust Panasonic's brand name and quality, and that there's nothing wrong with that, right? That's how humans are built. But you shouldn't have to trust the source. You shouldn't have to trust that this gold was in fact it is what it's supposed to be, and that it was attained in a sustainable way. And again, what I always said about sustainability, it's not about just pure, ideological environmentalism. That's not what it's about. Sustainability is about viability of business. Because if you do things in a sustainable way, you increase viability of business. And I'm all about business, and that's what we're all about. And this is what this proposal is all about. Like I said, it's all about sustainability, business viability, and unlocking value. So, like I said, very exciting. I'm super excited to be able to, like I said, not just track and trace, not just know where it's coming from, not just know that there's all this value locked in there and we're unlocking it, but we're also going to be able to use it on Cardano, and we're going to build ways to use it on Cardano. It's just gonna inject all this amazing, all these amazing opportunities into the ecosystem. I'm very excited about that.
And DeFi has definitely been ramping up. There's been a couple of protocols that have essentially sort of brought back some euphoria, for lack of better terms. And so what I've realized is it's not a lack of liquidity in the ecosystem. I think, and I hope people don't take this the wrong way, but sometimes it's a lack of product market fit where people are building things and that may not necessarily attract the
Most
liquidity.
most of the time it's PMF. Most of the time it's PMF. And as I said before, we have to get real about this. We have a lot of value here, but we also have to be disciplined about it and say, that's not going to work. Okay, that's going to work. Even though we really, really like that, even though we thought that this was going to be beautiful, and in our minds it is beautiful, that's just not working. But this does, and it's still, in the end, it comes from the same place. And so we have to let go of the emotion and think more about the practicality and about what the actual mission is about. And the mission is mass adoption.
Yes, wonderfully stated. And those emotions, man, they can definitely be tricky. I feel like the entire ecosystem has been very emotional lately, and you keep up with it very,
Yeah.
very well. And so, again, I think that has just shown itself here in the last couple of days. Now, we have to keep the conversation moving, Dan. And this is along with the theme, right? So, we talked about traceability for the farmers in Nigeria. We talked about using traceability and sustainability for the minerals and bringing those into the DeFi ecosystem. But thinking broader, talking about mass adoption, you guys are now also talking about TraceIt. And so, what is TraceIt? What's the goal there? And what's the mission?
So TraceIt actually came out as sort of a cool to have project that we're doing, because obviously, Palmyra Pro are, at their core, one of the main functions is traceability. And so we know quite a bit about that, right? And so what we obviously run into a lot of times is you really have to build a lot of bespoke solutions for these things, or you really have to think about workflows. What workflows, and how will the system accommodate a specific workflow. And that's actually one of the things that one of the main parts that we always have to work on whenever we bring in a new client or a new customer into the Palmyra ecosystem. We have workflows, right? So there's specific workflows for, say, for cocoa, or the specific workflows for zombie and honey or olive oil, and it's not the same. Obviously, they're different commodities. So there's going to be nuances. There's going to be different ways of processes and handling and things like that. And so we started to think, yeah, but it can't just be, it can't just always be this, just bespoke process. I mean, traceability is traceability, right? So you should be able to trace, track and trace things, without really having to really, really dig into it. What if it's just a simple application? Why can't there be something that can just do something simple and also be really versatile, so that you can actually expand it to something a lot more complex and a lot more intricate? And that's where TraceIt came in, and we basically took Winter Protocol, and we started thinking, okay, so how do we make this just like how do we make this usable for every day? Like, for example, I I'll give you an example, right? So I'm doing my homework, right, and at school, and the teacher says, okay, you have to show me a journal of all this homework that you've done for the past month because it's part of the assignment. Well, what do? Do you bring in all your homework? Do you bring your laptop in? Do you have to go through files? Or do you just say, okay, I actually use TraceIt to log it, put it on chain, hash it on chain. And so there's a traceability chain now of all of my homework on there, because what you do is you just record every single transaction using TraceIt. And TraceIt has will have various templates that you can use for different applications, and just log these events on chain, and then there you go. You have a chain of events that have been tracked and traced, that are on chain, that you don't have to prove because they've already been logged, and that's it. And that's basically one of the many use cases that just a private person, a one person can use this application for. That's what TraceIt is about. It's about this versatility and coming up with your own use case for traceability in your daily life as well as your business. Obviously it's not just for people, it's for businesses as well. And you can expand it, you can make it more complex, you can build your own UI and UX, and just utilize APIs that are going to be in the part of TraceIt. And so all of these things, you think that there's something like this, right? You would think like, wow, this is really simple. Why isn't there something like this? Well, there isn't, and that's why we're bringing it to the community, because it needs to exist. It does exist, and the community needs to be to really be able to utilize something like this, and without having to have it be so complex that they feel like, well, it's cool, but how do I can't really use it, right? Without these guys' help. But no, you can. That's TraceIt. You can use it for whatever you need to, virtually, for any kind of event that you want to put on chain, track and trace, and then have an immutable ledger of, which is basically one of the core use cases of blockchain. And it's also beautifully supported by Winter Protocol, which is what runs Palmyra. So you get to use what we use under the hood for your own devices.
I like that. And again, that seems to be the theme, right, with the three proposals we've discussed so far. But TraceIt seems to take a much more consumer-focused approach, where with the Nigerian farmers or with the minerals, those are obviously for much larger scale operations, right? And so giving the everyday ADA holder a solution to also be able to dive into traceability and to be able to tweak that however they see fit. Now, this last proposal here, I think it's very important, and it's very broad as well, right? Because one thing that we've personally talked off air about has just been building and tooling in Cardano. And so as a part of this last proposal, your guys' goal, when I say you guys, I'm talking about the Palmyra team. I always want to say Palm Economy team, but I guess they're one and the same. But that aside, it's your guys' goal to allow for projects to be able to join the ecosystem and to deploy even faster than they currently can on the network. You guys are bringing forth an open source off-chain engine. That's a mouthful there. What does that actually mean?
Okay, so essentially, what happens quite a bit, right, is, and this is actually something that one of our lead developers, Shashir Pai, came up with. So basically, a lot of times when you deploy and on UTXOs, you have to just keep rebuilding the same off-chain code for pretty much every single Dapp out there, because there is no template kit. There is no tooling to basically streamline that, like I said, and create a more kind of I don't want to say cookie cutter, but a more templated, and again, I want to keep using same template, but I will, templated approach to creating an off-chain code to handle UTXOs, to handle UTXO contention. Basically what this is, and of course, our tech minds, please check this out. This is a very focused proposal. There's quite a bit there. There's quite a bit of tooling that we're going to be building out there. But really, what this is all about is essentially saving time for dApps development. It's like giving dApps the ability to deploy faster, because they don't have to rebuild the same thing over and over and over and over again, which they have to do right now. So it's all about efficiency, and it's all about it's all about kind of usability of the UTXO model, by just by people who are here to build. Because one of the biggest critiques that we have from other ecosystems, and this is true, this is true to a degree, and say what you will about like EVMs, security, and they're the first principles and things like that. Some of these EVM chains go on, or centralized, decentralized. Put that aside. I'm just talking about building, right? Building on EVMs is just easier, because there's all this tooling that is already created to kind of to accommodate all these edge cases and use cases that come up during building, that will just basically let you deploy something faster. I mean, it is an unfortunate reality that it takes a lot less time to deploy something on EVM that the same thing would take to deploy on Cardano. And again, this is not a critique of Cardano's first principles. I think they're amazingly strong. We all can agree upon on that. But we're just talking about developer UX, developer user experience, and that's what this is about. We didn't just say, oh well, I wish we had that. I wish we had the EVM kind of portability and ease of use. This is it. That's what this is about. We're creating that on Cardano, because this is a real issue that Cardano has. We are solving it with this particular proposal. We're solving this particular tooling. And we believe that this will create a way for so many more dApps to be deployed on Cardano with so much more ease, and save them so much more time from performing redundant tasks and focusing on the actual use case, focusing on the actual, the crux of what they're building, and not having to deal with just busy work. So again, this is very exciting if you're a developer. This is very exciting if you're running a business on Cardano, because business is all about is all about financial efficiency, and that's what this brings. It'll bring financial efficiency, better financial efficiency to your project, because your project won't have to do the same thing that everybody else has to do, because there's not tooling there for this thing to be done in a much more efficient way. Now there is. That's what this proposal is about, and I am very excited to see this been picked up by the ecosystem, and to be, just to make things easier for people.
Thank you. And with that free time, right, everybody who's leveraging that can actually focus on their business and getting the word out there. And just, again, for me, I'm thinking out loud here as a creator. There's so many things that I wish other people could have told me about, or tooling that other people would have said, hey, use this for your thumbnails, or use this for whatever the case is. That way I can actually focus on being on camera. And I feel like this is the same exact thing. Obviously a different niche, right? Maybe different use cases, but allowing people to free up their time to focus on what it is that their business is actually bringing to the table. And so as we get ready to close out here, Dan, for anybody who wants to get in touch with you, the rest of the Palm teamer that just wants to maybe stay in contact or join the community, how can they do that?
Oh, there's so many ways. Well, first of all, Discord. We, check out the Palm Discord. There's, we're always on there. We are available to answer questions. We're available to interact at all times. The entire team is, you don't have to stand in line to talk to us. We are there. We're there for the community, because, it's, you're more important. You know what I mean? You're the one that built us up. Yeah, Discord is one. Another way, of course, is to obviously follow us on socials. We have we're on X, as you know. We have an Instagram. We have a YouTube channel that has regular updates and various different videos from the team. There's also a newsletter that you can subscribe to for Palm updates. And yeah, like I said, just don't be afraid to just reach out. I'm there. I mean, I might not respond right away, but I am there, and I will. I do put in the extra effort to make sure that I am available to the community, and I'm available to the people that are there to support us. So please, as they say, don't be a stranger or strangers. And yeah, join the community, join the Palm economy community, and have some fun.
Thank you, Dan. And I can attest to your availability. You've been there to support me, and I cannot thank you for it. Ladies and gentlemen, there, you've just heard it from the man, the myth, the legend, Dan Friedman, one of the co-founders here of the Palmyra economy, or just the Palm project, bringing RWAs, traceability solutions, sustainability solutions in and outside of Cardano. I'll be leaving the link to all 4 of their catalyst proposals down below. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down there. I'll make sure to forward them if I'm not able to answer them myself. But if you found this to be helpful, informational, or just insightful, right? Please, on the way out, smash that thumbs up. It is by far one of the easiest ways to show your support here on the channel. If you appreciate this type of content, interview style, chopping it up here with some of these founders, consider subscribing to the channel for more. And like I said, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or maybe I missed something, as always, feel free to voice off down below. Thanks again, Dan. We'll see you all in the next one. Cheers, everybody. Take care.